All right. Well, we didn't get the sound clip up, but that's okay. Don't you worry about it. Anyways, my name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe, or sometimes we call it the apostate capital of the world. But I'm glad you're joining us tonight. My goodness, we have got a lot of people coming in. Kind of cold up here in New England for April, but pretty soon, I guess. I mean, it is spring, but pretty soon we're going to see some nice warm weather. Friends, we've been doing this broadcast for 19 years, going on 20 years, and we are here because you are here. We've never missed a Saturday night. We're here because this is important for a lot of people who are leaving one of the most dangerous, destructive cults in the world. So it's the 6 screens of the Watchtower. And like I say, going on 20 years of doing it, we've had we had numerous programs, like you just heard. Anne Marie, she has a program called Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. We have more programs coming up tonight. But this JW World News has been around for 19 years, giving you the news in the Watchtower. And I have to tell you something, we've never had this much news. All the critical information that's coming across the net concerning Jehovah's Witnesses is unbelievable. I don't know how much longer this organization is going to be able to survive, really, when you think about it. Well, anyways, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of the things we do have going here tonight. We do have the duck up here. You can see the duck. He's right here. See him right here? That's the duck. Now, that duck, he's ready to give someone some beautiful, beautiful prizes. And let me just give you an idea. Let me just switch my camera here. I'm going to show you some books that maybe you folks know Nathan Natus. I'm just going to say that's his name. I'll get permission someday to use his real name. But Nathan Natus is generous enough to send us some beautiful books. And he wants you to have these books. So we're giving away as prizes here on the 6 screens. Now, let me just change my camera setting here so that we'll be able to get a better view of them. All right, I'm going to put this up here on A People for His Name. These are prizes that I'm going to give out tonight. These are great, great books. This talks all about the presidents of the Watchtower, A People for His Name. I'm going to use this as a prize tonight if you can guess the secret word. Now, we have 2 phrases tonight that if you call in and you say this phrase in your conversation, in your narrative with me tonight, you say one of the phrases, you get a free book. You say 2 phrases, you get two free books. Now we have that book. And now look at this here. Look at this. This is The Millions Now Living Will Never Die book. That book could be yours as well. It's upside down, right? So that book could be yours as well. That is not the original book, but it's verbatim. Everything that original book said in it, this is in it. It's been republished. So that beautiful book could be yours as well. That's one. We got another book here, The Desolations of the Sanctuary. You can have that one as well. We've got a lot of different beautiful books here. So I want you to know, if you say the secret word is in, there's 2 of them actually, 2 phrases tonight that are used in the Watchtower. If you say that, you get the book. If you say the 2 secret phrases, you get 2 books. All right, let me go back to my other studio here. I've got I got 2 different cameras going here once. Okay, let's go with this one. All right, so there we are again. So if that duck comes down, you win a prize. If you hear the duck quacking sound, I don't see where my little duck quack is, but if you hear that quacking sound, you'll win the prize. Okay, and also I want to talk about the convention. You know, I see it on Reddit. Someone said, is there any such thing as an ex-Jehovah's Witness convention? And someone did mention the 6 screens is going to have one. And we're going to have a convention of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. How exciting is that? When you stop and think about it, to be able to have all these people that have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, to have them come together in one venue, I think that would be marvelous. So we're looking forward to that. And I hope you can make it. Tentatively, it's going to be in August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2025. August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2025, not 2024, not this year. It's way out still. Give you time to save up some money. Give you time to be able to come up to the convention. We're going to have it up here in Boston, a beautiful Hilton hotel. Yes, it's beautiful. It's like all renovated. You'll love it. If you've never been to Boston, you've got to come to Boston in the summer. You will love it. It's generally refreshing, cool air. It's great things to be able to see up here. This is really where the Revolutionary War started. There's so many historical things and places you can visit. So, try to make it a vacation. Make it a vacation, and maybe even after the convention, we can all get together and do some things together. So if you can make it to the convention, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com and let me know. Say, Rick, I need 2 tickets. The tickets are free. Now, I'm getting a lot of people. We got 174 people so far that want to come. Now, I'm not going to hold you hostage. If you can think you make it, just let me know. You'll get some tickets, but I'm not sending in tickets out until we get the date. But all you guys that have written me, believe me, when I tell you, I have your name and all of that. So as soon as I get a date, you'll get the tickets. And first come, first serve. We have room for about 500, but that doesn't mean even if we go over 500 that you can't come. You might have to kind of sneak in when someone leaves, poke your head in through the door or whatever. But if you can make it, get a ticket. First come, first serve. So write me again, jwworldnews@gmail.com. Yeah. So anyways, did you survive the earthquake? Did you survive the earthquake? My goodness, we had an earthquake here yesterday. Did you know that? Well, I did. I was sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden my chair started rocking. Now, I'm not going to tell you it was like rocking like crazy, but I felt something. I never was in an earthquake before. But I'm in Massachusetts. The epicenter was in New Jersey, probably about 220 miles from where I live. But I could feel it. A little table started shaking. I had a glass of water on the table, and the water started shaking. So, yeah, we had an earthquake. We usually don't get earthquakes up here in New England, but or New Jersey. But in fact, they're very rare, very rare. But the reason why I even wanted to bring this up, can you imagine? Can you just think what's going on in the witness world? Earthquakes, one place after another. And that they might have the bragging rights to that. They just had one in Taiwan last week, right? And it was a big one over there. This wasn't anything that great. It wasn't that big, no damage, nobody hurt. But, the witnesses are going to take this to the bank and cash it. Earthquakes in one place after another. People are posting in the Jehovah's Witness Facebook pages. Oh, Matthew 24. Oh, how true that is. Earthquakes all over the place. I'll tell you what, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they always make a big deal, a gigantic big deal about an earthquake. And now we also have the eclipse. Oh, my goodness. We got the eclipse. We got an earthquake all happening around the same time. Is this going to be some unbelievable event that the witnesses will be talking about forever? When you think about it, they love to kind of pick at anything that comes down the pike that kind of supports their way of thinking. They're going to say, hey, man, I'm going to run with this one. And I got reports coming into the 6 screens. I couldn't believe it. The amount of, PMOs that contact me and Rick, I got relatives and they're contacting me and saying that, we had an earthquake yesterday. Did you know that? Trying to show that Armageddon's close. Maybe you get some information too. So the super PMEs, those are the loyal witnesses, those are really entrenched in the Watchtower. They go nuts. They go nuts every time there's a natural disaster or a tragic event. Did you go nuts? When you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, did you take this all to heart? Did you go around saying, oh, look at this, an earthquake. Oh, my goodness, this is terrible. They get giddy. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, the witnesses have always got a little giddy about the last days. And, of course, they always attach Armageddon to it. Armageddon's right around the corner, Rick. Didn't you hear about the earthquakes around the world? I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses have been saying this. I was in the Watchtower for 50 years. I don't know how many times I've heard this, but I mean, they must have the witnesses must have the memory of a goldfish. They must have the memory of a goldfish, and they forget about everything they've ever said. What about back in the 1960s and 70s when they said this? Now, all of a sudden, do they have to backtrack? They must forget everything they ever said. So I want to bring that up, but I survived the earthquake. Jehovah's Witnesses survived the earthquake. Now, I know that, obviously, biblically speaking, I'm a Christian man. And I know that there's going to be events like this in the future. But, I think the witnesses take it to the nth degree. I think sometimes they make a big deal out of nothing. That earthquake yesterday wasn't really anything. I don't even know if I guess you can technically call it an earthquake, but, for the witnesses to get excited, calling it, oh, look at this. This is the end of the system. I think that's a little bit too much. Well, anyways, my name is Rick Farron. I'm glad you're with me tonight. Boy, I will tell you, we have so much to share with you, and we're glad you're with us. And I hope you're having a good night yourself. I hope things are going well where you are. And I just want to say something else here that, 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since the memorial. Boy, time goes by so fast. The memorial was tomorrow, actually, 2 weeks tomorrow. But say 2 weeks, and the memorial is over. And I am really seeing that the meeting attendance has gone down since then. But before I do that, I do believe we have Shirley calling in. Did you want to say something, Shirley?
Yeah, Rick, I was just saying with this earthquake thing, I'm in New York, obviously. I have to say, this last one yesterday, excuse me, I didn't feel a damn thing. But there was one in New York, like 2011. That one I did feel, and I want to say back, I have to say, in New York again, I think it was 83 or 84. It was an early Saturday morning. I was living at home with my parents. I was the only one that felt an earthquake at that time. Because I remember I felt it from the floor. I live in an apartment building now, but I was living in a house back then. But it happened and it made news back then for New York City, and I guess it obviously hurt, it hit the neighboring states. But that one, I was the only one awake, and I felt it. But I remember when my Uber mother, JW mother, woke up. It was an early Saturday morning, and she said, "Oh yeah," before all the social media and everything. She was like, "Oh yeah," when it was confirmed on the news or whatever. She was like, "What you saying?" Oh, I could just see in her face. I know her. She was my mother. I know her. Like, oh, Armageddon, blah, 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 Armageddon. And it was early Saturday morning. I think, did we not go on field service? I think we, actually went, in service. Nothing wrong with it, but I think we actually went to service that morning. I went to service that morning with my mother, but yeah. But the look in her face was like, oh yeah, Armageddon right around, a couple of seconds more, Armageddon right around the corner. That was in the early 80s. But now she is gone, and all of my peers and their parents are gone. They did not live, they died before anything happened, but that's the thing I always know. They're always living on the edge. They're living on the edge.
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly, Shirley, what they do. How can you live a life like that? I never really got that fanatic over it, but I do know witnesses that did. Geez, every time something happened, they did peace and security, for example. Every time there was an article in the paper, oh, looks like peace in the Middle East. Oh, look at that. That's peace and security. And they would always use these Watchtower genres or Watchtower narratives to put themselves right on the edge of Armageddon. And this is foolish stuff because, this stuff came and went, but, they must have a short memory because they would be right in your face with this. Oh, Rick, we're so close. Like maybe your mother was, and sorry,
yeah,
love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rick, you just said peace and security. I want to bring up something that happened. I believe it was something. I remember we were at the district assembly at Yankee Stadium. Now I don't remember what was going on in the news at that day, but the headlines of the New York Daily News was peace and security. So I guess it was something happening at UN. I don't even remember, but I remember like the speaker back then said, "Oh, blah blah blah," talking about. I know he talked it up for whatever was happening at that time. Oh, brothers, peace and security, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, it just happened to be the headlines on the New York Daily News. And some brothers and sisters had it. And like they were going batshit crazy because some brothers had it, sitting in the stadium. They read the paper. And somebody had the paper and they were passing around like, oh my God, peace and security. And the brother just said peace and security. I have the Daily News. Oh, look, peace and security, peace and security. So they just, They just load on to anything.
Well, anything.
That cult-like, thinking.
Well, it's shallow thinking, Shirley. It really, really is. It's something that, the Watchtower seems to somehow get these people overly excited about nothing. And you're absolutely right with the peace and security. But now, what about the eclipse? We got the eclipse coming up Monday. You think the witnesses are going to go to the bank with that one and do something? What do you think?
I don't know. No, we had one remember when Trump looked right up in it? He was not supposed to do that. I don't know because I've not been associated with the witnesses, so I don't know. So, do you think are they still carrying on like an eclipse?
I don't. I mean, there has been, there's been a few eclipses in my lifetime. I never remember the witnesses making such a big deal out of it. I'm not even sure they're going to do it this time, but I think they are. I think they are. Somehow they're going to try to.
What is it? I mean, that's a natural reaction because, of course, that piece of the Curdy headline, whatever the hell was going on then. But this is a natural occurrence that is supposed to happen every so and so years. So what are they saying?
You
can't because you can't predict an earthquake like we had yesterday in New York. The other boroughs, but a solar or lunar eclipse. As you watch the weather every night on your local channel, of course they can tell you, we know when it's going to happen on Monday. So it's predicted. It's not like a certain earthquake we didn't know anything about. So how can they even latch on to this solar and or lunar eclipse?
Well, it's easy to piggyback it. I'm not saying the witnesses are going to do it, but already I see people piggybacking some of these conspiracy theorists and what have you. They're saying, "Wow, look, we got this solar eclipse, and then we got an earthquake in Taiwan. We got an earthquake in New Jersey. Oh my goodness, this is the end. There's something going on here. The whatever it would be." People do that. They take these, different, in some cases, catastrophic events, sometimes just a scientific event, and then they couple them together. And oh my goodness, the world is changing. So only time will tell, Shirley. Only time will tell. Yeah.
Well, let me just say this, Rick. My mother, I'm 66 years old. My mother and my peers, needless to say, have passed away. We've been hearing this since we were children in the 60s. Oh my God, Armageddon is right around the corner, the fringe, this, that, and the other. This is 2020. We're in the 2020s now.
Yeah. Well,
and it's amazing. People are still holding on. The peers of my age in their 60s, we're still alive. But I do know, the kids I grew up with, they're still hanging on. And I live in a co-op building, and I know they're younger than me, some JWs here. They're still hanging on. I don't understand. Just don't understand.
Well, let me try to bring you up to speed a little bit. I'll try to bring you up to speed a little bit. Shirley, what we're doing here is we are going into a whole new age. Things have changed since COVID, but things not just in the culture that we're living in, but that the world has taken on a different venue. They've taken on a different ideology. That this isn't the same world as it was just a few years ago. That the world right now, I'm not trying to be a prophet here or anything, but I'm just telling you, things are really rapidly changing. I don't want to sound like a dinosaur. I know older people have always said, well, I remember back then this, that, and everything else. But we are seeing a dramatic, dynamical change in the way the world is. People's behavior, work habits, monetary concerns, everything is changing. It's not the same anymore. So people, I'm sure, are trying to couple some of these events together and try to make a lot out of them. And it could be, I don't know. I mean, we are beginning to see things we've never saw before. But anyways, it just might pass. There'll be no issues with it. But thank you, Shirley, for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, well, that's Shirley. My goodness, we'd love to hear from Shirley. So what we'd like to hear from, looks like Pixie. Pixie, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I did the science, so you don't have to. In 1811, in New Madrid Fault in Missouri and the Arkansas area, when they had the comet and total eclipse, they did have earthquakes after, so it's a possibility. The scientific world can't say for sure. PubMed in 2016, they said eclipse does put a little bit of pull on the planet and even the human heart. So take it easy on Monday. Don't panic and sit in your chair and have a nice soda pop. And it is the 150th anniversary with the eclipse of the Ordo Templi Orientis, a pagan group in the Victorian age. They predicted the new eon. Some people say they were wicked, and it's all going according to plan.
Well, thank you.
So there's my report.
Well, you enlightened me tonight. I did not know that. So that no, okay. So they've even said, like, the moon, for example, when there's a full moon, the tides are always higher. So that's a scientific fact. I mean, up here in New England, where I live in Boston, the tides, when the moon is full, sometimes, in fact, the water will even overflow the banks along the coastal line. So it's a natural. So
there is science to this, but there's also kind of a metaphysical pagan. Let's shift the culture thing. It's both of those in two different categories. And it probably won't amount to much.
Well, the craziest thing, what is it with human society? And then even the Watchtower takes it to the nth degree. Why is it that we're always looking for some type of a cataclysmic event? We're always looking for some touchstone to say, well, look at this. This is it. I mean, it's funny. I was even talking to my wife, Susan, the other day, for centuries, for thousands of years, not just centuries. I'm talking even thousands of years, mankind always thought that their generation was going to be the last. And, you could bring that into your way of thinking, as I know even the generation before me thought that was going to be the last generation. But here's something. Generations continue to tick along, but there is something, if you want to come from a biblical standpoint or a godly standpoint, there is something, I think, that would really tick God off. And I believe it's happening right now. Man is getting too smart for their britches. Man is able to do things they've never done before. I mean, you just hold a little iPhone in your hand or a smartphone. What an amazing thing. Where does technology come from? Man is getting very smart. They're cloning, they're not going to share it with us, but they're making human beings in a test tube. They're doing all kinds of stuff like that. And even changing the weather. That's a known fact. That they're dealing with the very schematics of God's designing the universe, and they're playing around with that. I think that's something that could really get God upset. Man has never been able to do that. They never had the technology. So, maybe there's a lot more to this, Pixie. Maybe we are the last generation, Well,
they don't want to give us a lot of choice. I saw a clip today of a robot dog and a real dog. And the real dog was terrified of the robot dog. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, those robot dogs, they're made by Boston Robotics. It's about 20 miles from where I live. They make those dogs that look like robots. But now, just 2 days ago, I watched the business news. And on the business news, they were saying that Apple, they thought that they were going to make a car, but they're not going to make a car. They got out of that idea. So what Apple is doing now is they're going to make household robots. I'm saying household robot. What is that going to do? So what they're saying, they're going to develop a robot that will kind of follow you around the house. Would you like to be followed around your house, Pixie?
Absolutely not.
So they're gonna. I mean, this was. I mean, I had to really turn it up and listen to this. So they want to develop a robot, and Apple's doing. I mean, they're a trillion. They're the largest company in the world, and they got the money to do stuff like this. So they want to develop this robot that will follow around the house, and evidently you can train it to do things like bring in the bedroom. Okay, this is how you make a bed. Okay. And you kind of push a few buttons and do a few tweaks before you know it, the robot's making your bed for you. It's
before you know it, the robot will be making the bed with you in it.
Well, but these are things This is where we're heading. We haven't seen anything yet. This is unbelievable. But this is why this must really be, I'm glad I'm out of the witnesses, because I don't know what they think about all this modern gadgetry and what have you. I mean, a lot of witnesses have this stuff. And I think it's really, I mean, even the Watchtower, as we know, has gone to tablets and computers and cell phones, and they don't even carry their Bible any longer. We've talked about that numerous times. But high tech, the witnesses are into it, but it could be their downfall, because that's only one mouse click away. They're so close to finding out all the stuff they have to know about the Watchtower, Pixie.
I got a Watchtower and Awake, the new one. And the Awake was good if I was going to teach adult literacy to an adult that could not read yet. It would be a very good tool for that. But the Watchtower, they've dumbed it down to about third grade. They've got big margins. They've got larger type. And if you want a spiritual text, it ain't it.
You are right. You are right, Pixie. Wow, always good to hear from Pixie. You keep cranking away at it, Pixie. Keep waving that.
Well, just take it easy on Monday, folks. And if you're going to look at the eclipse, get your little glasses.
Oh yeah, no, I got. In fact,
one.
thank you for reminding me. I got to get some of those glasses, because we're going to have a nice sunny day up here in Boston. So it's going to be almost, not going to be a total up here, but it's going to be very close. But I want to see it up front and close, so I'm going to get the glasses. Thank you, Pixie, for reminding me.
Okay.
All right. So, anyways, I got information coming in here to the 6 grains. We went to the memorial. Well, it was 2 weeks ago, tomorrow. Boy, time goes by fast, right? So we went to the memorial. I protested at the convention center in Andover, Massachusetts. It was at a Doubletree Hotel, and they had the convention there. They had 3 or 4 congregations, so I figured we'd show up there. You guys know the whole story. You've seen it all over the place. But anyways, it's 2 weeks afterwards, and now I'm beginning to get reports from people coming in here to the 6 screens that the memorial, after the memorial, the meeting attendance tanked. What is going on with that? I mean, usually after the memorial, the meeting attendance goes up. That always happened when I was a witness. It seemed like everybody was all gung-ho, and we went to the memorial. Now let's do things with Jehovah. But this was just the opposite. I think people are getting sick and tired of it. I think there's more and more people finding out what the Watchtower is hiding behind. And then the midweek meeting. Oh, the midweek meeting. I'm getting people writing to me, information coming in here to the 6 screens. They're saying the midweek meeting is dead. Nobody's showing up. A lot of people, they go on Zoom, but then they turn the camera off. But people aren't commenting like they used to. So it's all changing. But you guys know, I know we've been preaching this for a long time. It feels like I'm preaching to the choir here. You know it. Jehovah's Witnesses, the young ones, the young Jehovah's Witnesses are leaving. And the old Jehovah's Witnesses are dying off. That is a bad combination. That doesn't work. So you have young ones leaving. You have older ones dying off. Most congregations in developed countries, they're made up of aging rank and file members, including here in the United States. We have so many older ones. I say we, but I'm just using the vernacular here. Jehovah's Witnesses have so many rank and file members who are older, that they serve their whole life in the Watchtower. Their children and their grandchildren, well, generally speaking, many of them have been disfellowshipped. Many older sisters, the congregations are filled with older, aging Jehovah's Witness sisters. And what's happening is they have no one, they're old, they can't drive at night, they can't see. So a lot of these older sisters, they have no one that will take them to the meetings. And they need to be cared for. That they really need the help of the brothers and sisters in the congregation. Now, I'm not going to make a blanket statement here and say that the brothers and sisters aren't going to help the older ones. There's a few that do. I've seen that. But generally speaking, no. But there are some that do help. So I can't make a blanket statement. No one would help. So what you have here, many of these older sisters in particular, they're severely depressed. I mean, to the point of, being institutionalized. I mean, they're severely depressed, and they still want to speak up at the meetings, but it's very hard for them to do so. They're getting older, so they want to make comments, but they can't. So, but they keep saying, even though they're being discarded, you could say, by the Watchtower, and even their friends at one time showed a lot of interest in them. As the sisters are getting older, there's no hope for them, but they keep saying this is the best life ever. Haven't you heard that before by the witnesses? This is the best life ever. So a lot of these older sisters are saying it. Isn't that fake? Do you think being one of Jehovah's Witnesses is the best life ever? I have to say absolutely not. Friends, I'm telling you, everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but so many loyal Jehovah's Witnesses are getting fed up. They've had enough of this corrupt organization. Isn't that nice? I love. Can I repeat that? Because I love saying that. I couldn't always say that, but I love saying it now. The older ones, even they're seeing all these changes. They're seeing things take place that they never would realize would take place. So many of these older ones are fed up. They are fed up. They've had enough of this corrupt organization. What do you do? What do you do if you're an older one and you gave your whole life to the Watchtower? What do you really do? It's a sad state of affairs. Now, the only thing keeping many of the witnesses going, and I want you to take this to the bank and cash it because this is the absolute truth. The only thing that's keeping so many Jehovah's Witnesses in this organization and keeping them going is the fear of men, the fear of what others will think of them, or the fear of others shunning them. That's it. Is it Bible truth that's keeping the witnesses in? No. Is it, oh, it's such loving people, they're helping me so much? Is it because the people are loving that's keeping the witnesses in? No. Is it because, well, I've been a witness all my life and I really should always obey Jehovah, and so I might as well stay in for that? No, that's not it. The only reason why people are still in the Watchtower, the reason why this organization has not had a total collapse, at least in my own way of thinking, is because of the fear of men, fear of what others will think of them, fear of what others will do to them, like shunning them if they leave. That's my thoughts on it. Deep down in the minds of Jehovah's Witnesses, even loyal ones, they really don't believe it anymore. Now, I'm sure there's a few that do, but friends, we have got a revolution. We have got a mass exodus of witnesses leaving this organization. Never, ever before have this many people left. Now, back in 1975, when they said Armageddon was coming, even though they denied it, how many Jehovah's Witnesses you think left the organization then? Well, in 1975 to 1977, they had 250,000 Jehovah's Witnesses leave the organization. And the same amount back when Rutherford took over. I believe it was 250,000 back then as well that left. So they have had periods in history where many people have left the Watchtower organization. But right now, this far surpasses. Just stop. Put your thinking cap on. Put your JW thinking cap on for just 1 second here. Now, as I just mentioned, the fear of men is keeping people in. They don't want to get disfellowshipped. So how many of these people do you think are PMOs? How many people in the current witness world, the witnesses claim they have 8 and a half million people, almost 9 million people. That's what the witnesses claim. How many of those 9 million people do you think really believe it? How many of them are PMO? They're physically in, mentally out. They're just going to the meetings in a perfunctory way. They don't want to get this fellowship. How many people do you think? I think it's half. I think it's half. I think of the 9 million, I would be willing to say 4.5 to 5 million people don't believe it. Can you have an organization function like that? Can you have an organization continue on with that type of numbers? No, something's going to collapse here soon. Deep down, deep down, there are many Jehovah's Witnesses, loyal ones at that don't believe it anymore. And the younger people, look around the congregation. Even the memorial that I went to the other night, I didn't go in. I wasn't allowed to, but I was able to observe the cars going by. Very few young people. And then we sent cameras into the convention center where the witnesses were holding the memorial. I saw very, very few young people. So young people are becoming rarer and rarer in the Jehovah's Witness organization. What do you think? Do you think that the young people will hang in? I don't see why they'd want to do it. It's just a depressing place for anyone who is young. Did you want to say something? Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. You with us?
Hi, this is Stephen. I didn't have a comment about the young people. I had a comment about older. I had two older witnesses. One was my biological grandmother, and the one was the mother who raised me, but was not my biological mother. But both had been witnesses for many decades. And both, when they got to the end of their life, there was a sadness, I would have to say a depression that sat over them. And my grandmother, when she died and she kept saying over and over again, it wasn't supposed to end like this. It wasn't supposed to end like this. And I tried to get out of her what she meant by that statement, because I felt like she had sat there as a Jehovah's Witness being taught that generation would never die. Now here she is, knowing that she's going to die. However it is that you know that, but you know it instinctively, apparently, that you're going to die. And she kept saying to herself, it wasn't supposed to end this way. So the point that I was thinking was, even if the older ones stay in for whatever reason, whether it might be the sunk cost fallacy, this has to be true because I spent my whole life on this, or if it's the cognitive dissonance, I do believe that when they realize that their life is up, I do believe that they realize that they led a life based upon a lie. And as hard as it might be to deal with that, I think that when you're sick and you're laying in bed and you can't do anything really but sit there and think, and you're going to obviously think about your life, I think that reality really settled in on them that, you know what, we were deceived, we were tricked, we lived a lie. I can't believe this is happening. And whether or not they think that, they're going to be resurrected and all that part I don't know. But I do think that the reality of the fact that this has been a false cult and they've wasted their lives in it, it really does kind of hit them in the face, so to speak, at the very worst time, which is right when you're going to die. And there's a lot that should be said about that probably never will be. But I do believe that that's the case. So even those long time ones, you can't tell me that the closer they get to dying, to transitioning, that they're not thinking about this whole thing and realizing that none of the stuff that Watchtower ever taught them was really true.
Whoa, Stefan, that's really a mouthful. And what you just said there is 100% true. And you have to even have some feeling for some of these people, which I do and you do.
Yeah.
You put your whole, it's disappointing to see people's dreams go up in smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all, that's all we had when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. We had a dream of living together and seeing our loved ones in the resurrection and playing with the panda bears and the lions. And geez, we had such a dream. And then a person carries this for 30, 40, 50, 60 years of their life. And now they're getting ready to check out. It would be depressing. It would be terrible. Yeah, terrible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That kind of opens up a new avenue here. I can see that depression, not only the older people would get depressed, but think about even the young ones. Well, even the young ones, when you stop and think about it, well, what really is there for a young person to stay in the Watchtower. Well, don't go to school, don't play sports, don't get a career, don't get married too early, pioneer, come to Bethel. Geez, what is on the horizon for them? Nothing. As a matter of fact, and then the other thing that you have being a witness youth is you have a limited choice of people that you can have a friend with. I mean that you might be
Right.
you might be in a congregation and all the young kids you don't like them. They're not your type of a person. But what do you do now? See, so that's the problem that you run into. Stefan, thank you.
And being
Yeah.
born in, I can tell you that even as a young person, we those of us as kids raised up in this thing, we had nothing to look forward to. Nothing. The only thing that really kind of saved me on a personal level, because I live in the Midwest, but my family moved from California to the Midwest. So every time that there was a break, the winter break or spring break, and then of course the summer break, I was always in California. But then when I would come back and I would get reacquainted with the witness youths that were there, they were always kind of down and bummed out because they had nothing to look forward to. You don't celebrate birthdays, you don't celebrate Christmas, you don't celebrate any other holiday, you're not allowed to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And all it was go to meetings and go out filter. It was the most boring life that you could live. Like I said, the only thing that saved me was I was able to travel. And how do you raise a child and that child has nothing to look forward to?
Well, that's what you
Maybe
did.
an assembly, a district convention, but beyond that, there's nothing.
No, you
They have
just
nothing
you
to
just said something that got me thinking. Even like a birthday party. Oh, our sister's gonna have a birthday next week, and boy, we're gonna have fun. Mom's gonna make a cake, and we're gonna get to blow the can. And there's
Uh-huh.
nothing like that. Nothing on Christmas
There's
or
nothing.
nothing. Zero. There's nothing for young people. All they did is get
And
reprimanded.
even the little gatherings that some of the witnesses or some witness use never did much of anything. But some, their parents would try to. They would be thinking in the back of their mind, I better try to do something for this kid, otherwise they're just going to leave because it's so boring. So they'd have these gatherings, but the gatherings are so strange because you're limited to what music, you're limited to what video you can play. All the boys are on one side of the room, the girls are on the other side. If they do dance together, don't be too close, And the boys don't know how to interact with girls don't know how to interact with boys. It's the most. You don't leave there saying, "Oh boy, I had a great time." You just leave there thinking, "Geez, that was the worst thing ever." I'm telling you, I was raised in this, and if I went back in time, knowing what I know now, I would have definitely opted to not be a witness and maybe even go live with other family members.
Oh no, you're absolutely right with that. You really are. What enjoyment do you get? Even if you wanted to, you get to a certain age, 16, 17, you'd like the normal world. They would, pick out a girlfriend, a boyfriend, they go steady. I mean, you don't have to get involved in all kinds of intimate relationships here, but just normal getting together and talking. But you can't even do that in the witness world. You can't. I had when I had a young son when he was young. He's older now, but when he was young, he was a witness son, and he met this little cute pioneer girl in school, and she was a witness, and so they were seeing each other in school, and so the father called me and said they shouldn't be doing that, and so I kind of agreed as a witness, and so I said, well, let's have why don't we have Cheryl, her name is, why don't we have Cheryl and my son Jack, why don't we have you and your family come over and we'll have some popcorn and watch a movie together. Oh, no, that would be dating, Rick. We can't do that. Can you imagine that? Geez,
Right.
even to have the family
Yeah.
over. I mean, what type of relationship can you develop with someone like that?
Oh man, that takes me back. I had a good friend, and she invited me to her meeting because we went to the same high school, and she invited me to her meeting. And when I got there, she was never baptized, and so I wound up sitting next to her because I got to the meeting late. The whole meeting, everybody turned around and everybody watched. And after the meeting, all these people flew up to me, basically saying, when is the wedding? Just because I sat next to her, it was great. But that's the Watchtower cult.
Unreal. Well, thank you, Stefan. Thank you very much, Steph. Always good to hear from you. Okay, let's go to 717. You're on with us. Go ahead, 717. Did you want to speak up, 717? You're on with us. Okay.
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted. You're ready to go, 717. You're with us. Go ahead.
Okay, I like what Stephen said about those girlfriends and how the gender segregation. You know what it reminds me? It's more like you're in the Middle East than you are in a Western nation. That's what it's like. It's like that extremist Islam stuff.
Well, that's interesting. You make that comparison, brother. That's really interesting. In other words, it almost does have that feeling, doesn't it? It's like you're not even living in America when you're a Jehovah's Witness. They don't.
It's like you're living in Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia. That's what it's like.
Oh, I enjoy the comments from the people calling in. Now, that's interesting. I never heard of that analogy before, but geez, I have to give you a gold star for that. That's quite interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. So
It's pretty much on the verge of being arranged marriage like those cultures, and it's like you're not even in a Western society.
well, no, you're in a different world when you went to the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. You leave the planet. You go into an unknown world, and you can only identify with it when you get out, because when you're in there, you can't see it. But when you leave it, you can say, "Wow, where the heck was I? We were in a cult." Oh, always good to hear from you. Thank you for calling in. Now, what can I? What's your name, sir? What's your name?
I'm going by my own individual identity. I can go by Dallas.
Dallas. Well, Dallas, thank you. Dallas, I thank you for calling in tonight. Now, don't you be a stranger. You come back here and see us again, okay?
I go by alternative identities as a protective.
Yeah. Well, you keep your identity anonymous, because that way there's nobody's going to get on your case. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you. All right, we've got.
You take care of me.
Yeah. Let's go to.
My love to all on your group.
Well, thank you, Dallas. Thank you for wanting to be part of the Six Screens team here and commenting. We appreciate that always. Thank you. Let's go to, we got 213. 213, what's on your mind, 213? How can we help you?
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good, John. How can we help you, John?
Rick, you know the latest thing is now with the witnesses, they're saying the preaching work. I went to the grocery store the other day, and there was two pioneers in front of the store, and one was an amputee. He had one leg, and he was saying that that's going to be the sign that, we're preaching, and then I noticed that the convention is about declaring the good news. So I think that's going to be the new pitch, preach.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about that convention theme. Thank you for bringing it up. That story's coming up next. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, John, for dialing in. Always good to hear from you, too. You're a good man, John. Don't you ever change.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. All right, let's go to, it looks like, do we have Michigan on there? Was Michigan just on? Was that you, Mike? Did you want to say something? Go ahead, Mike. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, just real quick, you were talking earlier about, are we living in the time of the end? Well, we just saw this last week. I'm sure the woke police won't like me saying this, but what did you think? The President of the United States comes out with a proclamation that it's Transgender Day of Awareness, and I read the proclamation. It was very disgusting, and he releases that on Easter Sunday. So I think that's a pretty good sign we're in the time of the end. I mean, what do you think about that, Rick?
Well, no, I did think about it, but Mike, I'll tell you, sometimes you throw things out here that could be controversial. I mean, I'm kind of in sync with you on that. The time that,
it's controversial whether a man can have a baby or not.
well,
nowadays.
that's, well,
right,
I say it's, well, I'm not saying it's controversial for the world, but it's controversial because, what's it, even in the Watchtower, there's a lot of change. In fact, did you know there were transgender Jehovah's Witnesses, Mike?
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Well, no, I did. No, I'll tell you what. My sister-in-law, she was a witness, and right up here in Nashua, New Hampshire, right up the state, up in Nashua, New Hampshire. One day they made an announcement in the Sunday meeting that Sister Smith is in fact, I'm sorry, they said Brother Smith is no longer Brother Smith. He's now going to be recognized as Sister Smith. Now, what would you do if you what would you do if you heard that in your congregation?
I go, well, so is a woman becoming a man? Well, if it's a man or a man becoming a woman,
So,
I'd have a problem.
well, they did.
Well, either way, I didn't like it. But,
Well, I couldn't believe it when my sister. This had to be 35, 40 years ago. My sister-in-law told me that, and I said that's strange.
I don't know, Rick.
So they said, just
Well, I'm not saying maybe. I don't know, but that's against their policies. But,
well,
but regardless.
well, they I mean, take it to the bank and cash it because it did happen. It did happen. All right. Okay. Thank you. Shirley, do you want to come back on 718? Do you want to say something?
That sounds like some kind of late April Fool's joke or something. Because back in the day with the witnesses, like we know that with the disfellowshipping thing, now they're kind of dismissing that. But when we were growing up, come on now, we didn't even know what transgender was back in the day, and now they're allowing that. Are you serious? Is that really happening?
That happened 35, 40 years ago. It did.
35, 40 years ago? Really?
Yeah, no, it almost does, but it did. My sister-in-law, she went right up here in Nashua, New Hampshire. They made an announcement that brother so-and-so is now sister so-and-so. So we'll address him as sister, not brother. It was something else. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but I didn't think a lot of it at the time. I didn't even know, like you said, what the word. In fact, I'm going to tell you something, Shirley. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to sound like Mickey the Dunce here, but I didn't. When I was even in the Watchtower, say even just 20 years ago, if someone mentioned pedophile, I didn't know what a pedophile was. I mean, I don't mean to sound dumb on that, but I never heard the term, and now I never.
That's why I'm saying back in the day, because you know how the disfellowshipping thing was back in the 60s and 70s, and like we didn't even have the term, and yet they were disfellowshipping people for I don't even have to go into it, but they honestly announced in this congregation that somebody used to be a brother is now a sister, and they still were able to serve, but yet the fellowshipping for sleeping with your boyfriend and girlfriend before marriage, on that sex before marriage, all that stuff, but yeah, you can switch. That's a new one on me, Rick. I have to say, I'm shocked. That's a new one.
Well, thank you, Shirley. I thought you might have. I thought you were going to come in and be mad at Mike, but he had a point with that. And even if look at there are people. I'm not going to, beat the people up, but there may be people that legitimately have to be that. But a lot of it isn't that way. In my way of thinking, maybe there are hermaphrodites, as they would call them. When they're born as a young child, the doctor comes to the parents and says, we don't know, we can't tell by, what's down below, whether it's a girl or whether it's a boy. So, you can make the choice. They leave it up to the parents. Do you want it to be a boy or do you want it to be a girl? I mean, that's even a tough decision for a parent, right? I mean, geez, that would be very tough. I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, if you had to make that decision really quick, well, make him a boy. I mean, I don't know what you would do, but I can understand there are hermaphrodites or there are people that do have problems, but a lot of it, I'm just thinking in terms of it being kind of a mental condition, whatever it would be the cause that I would not know. But there are cases where it can be legitimate. But in today's day and age, I mean, even to announce on Easter Day that, this is a special announcement, I'd kind of keep that down, because what it does is it gives people ideas. It gives people ideas that they might want to do this, and it could be very problematic in their life. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you.
The only thing is that, Rick, remember, like, brothers and sisters have said that when they were breaking off or whatever, they have said that they put up like Christmas lights outside their house, and the elders were stalking, quote unquote, stalking, driving by and saw it, and they were called in to the back room, so to speak. So Christmas lights, they're stalking for that. But a brother who can now be a sister, I mean, when you think about it, that's crazy. Christmas lights,
Yeah.
Oh, brother so-and-so, we saw Christmas lights on his house. We have to call him in the back room and speak to him. But a brother, now it's a sister? I mean, really?
Well, Shirley, how do you make sense out of nonsense? That's exactly what goes
Yeah,
on.
but I mean,
Yeah.
like Christmas lights on, they're stalking us. They're driving by our house. They saw our lights. And we saw so-and-so smoking in the supermarket. Sister so-and-so, we saw smoking in the supermarket. We're going to call her in the back room and speak to her. But brother so-and-so is now sister so-and-so? That doesn't add up.
That does it. Thank you, Shirley. Hey, 308, come on back on with us. 308, come on. We see you on the screen. Come on back.
Hi, Rick. I was going to tell you, I think it was Transgender Awareness Day. They've had that for several years, and it's always been the same date. What made it different this year being on Easter was the way the Jewish calendar read, and that just happened to fall on Easter just happened to fall on the same day as that Transgender Awareness Day, I think is what it was called. But I wanted to comment on something else. When you were talking about how humans are getting too smart for their own good, there is a new movie on Disney Plus that's directed towards kids. The name of the movie is The Creator, and it's about AI, and they're like telling the kids that AI is better than humans, and that trying to make the human race turn against itself. And the whole thing is that there's some special forces guy that's supposed to kill the creator. I just thought that was kind of odd. Well, not odd as far as today's standards, but it's really sad that they're teaching kids this kind of stuff. And kids are falling for it because they're trying to do that transhumanism, which is not transgender or anything. It's transhumanism, where they're trying to put, computers or things into people and making them half human and half artificial intelligence. But yeah, mankind is starting to play God a little too much.
Wow, I haven't heard of that, Debbie. Well, thank you for sharing that. But no, that is over the top. That is too much. Well,
It's on Disney.
Yeah.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's why Disney right now, the Disney organization is in a real bind. I mean, I watch the business news a lot. Disney is losing a lot of people. A lot of their stock is going down big time. People aren't going and associated the Disney parks like they used to. It's just not the same anymore. They've changed their way of doing business, and a lot of people are saying, I've had enough of it. I've had enough of it. Yep. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. All right. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I'm going to ask you this question. Is there any point of you staying in this organization? I mean, maybe you're thinking, well, for the social, Rick, it's the social respect of it or aspect of it. I love the social. No, you don't. A lot of your good friends are getting out. So don't even give me that. I would say now is the time to leave. Anyone who is 30 years old or less, leave now. Listen, if you're listening to this stream tonight, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're 30 years old or less, leave now. Do not delay. I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. Don't waste any more years of your life. Build a life that you want. You can be happy leaving the Watchtower. If you're young, you're listening to this, put the parachute on and jump. Being a Jehovah's Witness, I have to tell you, has nothing to do with being happy. They're going to tell you we're the happiest people on the planet. Oh, Jehovah's people. It has nothing to do with being happy. You can be happy not being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And also, I mean, maybe you're thinking, well, there's going to be a whole lot new people coming in. We're getting closer to Armageddon. That means that there's going to be a lot of people magically appearing out of the thin air. That's not going to happen. I know it's happened in the past, that all of a sudden, wow, we get a new family coming to the Kingdom Hall. Wow, look at all the seats at the convention. They're all filled. Oh, look at the families coming in. It's over. Stick a fork in it. Take it off the grill. They're not going to magically magically appear like they did before. You will hear more and more of families leaving. That's what we're hearing all the time. The one that leaves actually has a chance of having some life. If you stay in this organization, you're not going to have a life. Listen to me, please. Just listen, open your ears if you're a witness. If you stay in this organization, you are not going to have a life. That is for sure. Chewy, I'd like to hear what you have to say. Chewy, go ahead. You run with us.
Hey, Rick, yeah.
Yes.
The way I'm viewing this, because I was a little one when this 75 thing went on, but I remember what was said. I remember that I would never graduate high school. The friend I talked about on Anne Marie said that her mom told her that she would never get a driver's license. I'm going to term this as another 75. This is another 75. I've got people. My best friend one time, we couldn't even talk. But we couldn't even have a normal conversation because I had to guard my words. And I just told him, I just mentioned that I had found, which I did, which it might actually be something. I had found some old football cards from the 70s and the 80s that I got when I was a youngster, and they're good. They're still good. And the look on his face was just like an astonishment, and it was just. They're not prepared. They're not prepared. They were thinking that this thing was going to go, that this thing wasn't going to go on, but they're not prepared for that. We're going to have what I call a rolling 1975. This is what this is going to be. This is what this is going to be.
Well, I like the term. I'm going to steal it from you, Chewy. I like the term rolling 1975 because it's shaping up to be very much like it. Yes. And I'm going to tell you too, Chewy, as you're listening in and others listening as well, the Watchtower is only making changes, and they've always done this throughout their history. They are only making changes because it makes sense for long-term survival. That's what all of the changes are right now, because it makes sense. Let people wear beard. Let the men wear beards. Let the ladies, wear slacks. Let the men not have to wear ties to the meeting, because that's going to be the survival of the future. Now, has the Watchtower pulled this before? The answer is yes. Well, let's just roll. There's a lot of instances, but I won't bore you with it all. Let's just go back to 1975. In 1975, of course, we know the Watchtower was saying that was going to be the end of the system. And, they had to really say that in order to give people the idea that, wow, we are the truth. But after that, they just dropped it completely. But they have to continue. They have to continue to come up with ideas to keep this thing surviving. And sometimes what happens is it backfires on them. Like in 1975, a lot of people did leave. Go ahead. I believe we had. Yes, go ahead. 613. Is that you?
Yeah.
I think that's King of Dots. Yes.
Yeah, 513. I don't want to hog in on somebody else, but the fact is, we're at a point where people are looking for an excuse to leave their religion. Everybody is. And history repeats itself. The Catholic Church changed their beliefs. They lost a whole generation of young people. The Worldwide Church of God, Garner Ted Armstrong, Herbert W. Armstrong, they changed their Saturday Sabbath belief. And I know members there, they said they lost 30% across the board. There's no reason to believe that Watchtower isn't going to lose at least 25%, period. In fact, a friend I know in Indianapolis called me up 2 weeks ago, and they started making all these changes. He said he had 3 people from his congregation who were his age group. He was a fader, calling up and say they're never coming back again. And that's like the 30 to 40 range right there. And not only that, I got to tell this story briefly. Watchtower is liaising people. I'm talking about the Fran side of the family. We're not talking about kids who are raised by disfellowship parents, but one of them, their mom was disfellowshipped, and I heard that he's so off the rails. He's bragging about getting a deer on the road and coming out with a ball bat and smashing its head in while it's still alive, saying, "Who's going to replace my bumper?" And he lives in a trailer back in the woods off the East Fork Reservoir and doesn't have electricity or water or anything and poops in a bucket. And this is a friend's relative raised by a disfellowship mother. This is unbelievable. We're not even talking about the tragedy of these kids. They disfellowship their parents and they become complete psychopaths. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's a mouthful. I mean, that's, I don't know what else to say after that. That's a terrible situation, King of Dots. But this is what happens. This is what happens when people lose their mind. They become unrealistic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Yeah, so we have all. Yes.
Hey, Rick, it's Constance.
Oh, hi,
I was
Constance.
just going to say, hi, honey. I was just going to say, you know, when I was in the organization, I was a single sister. And I have shared my experience, what it was like when so many of the single sisters got married, and you lost so many friendships that you just valued. Well, you know, Rick, I cannot imagine being a senior citizen, which I am now. But what I'm saying is I can't imagine being a senior citizen all by yourself in this organization, excuse me, as you're aging. Maybe you were married, maybe your husband died, maybe there's a divorce. You know, a lot of witnesses, they don't have kids. So if the husband passes away, there's no support system for the wife. Or you have sisters that never got married, never had children. And the point I'm trying to make is I think it has to be very extremely sad and painful, Rick, to be an elderly woman, could even be a man, but you're talking about the sisters, and they're in their little subsidized apartment trying to survive, you know, Social Security check to Social Security check. They have no transportation. They have no family structure. They have no husband. They don't really have a lot of genuine people in the congregation who love them. That was something that woke me up. You think the brothers and sisters, especially the sisters, are going to be there to help you? Well, some of them, I'm not saying all, I'm just saying some, I have seen this. Some of them are there to help you for their own personal gain. They're going to charge you to take you to the doctor or whatever. But the point is, you know, the expression, Rick, if you snooze, you lose. And I think it's just heartbreaking to see in an organization supposed to be so-called Christians, full of love. This is when you get the wake-up call to realize that, you know what, you're really on your own. And I'm telling you, I'm not shooting my own horn, Rick. I'm not. That's not who I am. But had I not been there for my mom, I could not get any of the sisters in the congregation to help me. And I remember my mom said, you know, Connie, I'm so grateful I have you because I don't know what in the heck I would have done without you. So, you know, I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just saying I'm a very compassionate person. And my heart goes out to these elderly sisters who, you know, they want a support system. They think people are going to be there for them. But you know what, Rick? A lot of times they're not. They're not. And I love what you said about this. People need to wake up and say, you know what, maybe it's time to really move on and have some courage to do something if it's not too late. Because there's nothing worse than being totally alone where you feel uncomfortable and you are dying in your own apartment by yourself. So thank you, Rick.
Well, Constance, it's always good to hear from you. But, you know, I kind of single the older sisters out tonight because I got thinking of them. It's, you know, older brothers too, but the sisters are in a more precarious, a more difficult situation. You know, all their life, they relied for the most part on, you know, the way the witness world works, on men to help them and work with them. And many of them lost their husbands. And now they're in an organization that's going to give them diddly squat. So, yeah, our hearts go out for them. Thank you very much, Constance. Good to hear from you. We've got, I think it's Gilbert Gonzalez. I think he's coming in from Arizona. Go ahead, Gilbert. You're on with us.
Hey, Rick, I want to disagree with you so that way we can make the show interesting. And the reason why I disagree with you is because in Star Wars, remember Darth Vader said, you underestimate the power of the dark side. And then the Emperor said, I could feel the hate. You know as well as I know that a lot of your friends, Rick, they hate you so much. The hate that they have for you in your congregation and the people that know you, that you grew up with, the hate is so intense that they will never leave Watchtower. They hate you that much. And my brother Justin and I, we experienced that, you know, and it's weird because it's like the apostates are out there trying to say, wake up, but they have success. But the sad reality is that they've turned other people into hardliners. I'll give you an example. Jesus Christ came to earth and he resurrected dead people, cured people from the sick. And there were a lot of people like the Apostle Paul that wanted to kill you, physically kill you. So what we have right here is everything. This has happened in Bible and world history. So you have the Gideon moment. There were more people who had their head in the sand that were actually drinking upright. In the year 70, 2,000 years ago, a lot of Jews hated Jesus and his followers so much, they stayed in the city. So no matter what you say, no matter what I say, you have to understand that we can't force people out. We can't tell them, let's run to the hills, because unfortunately, it is a spiritual fight. It is a separation of the goats, you know, and the sheep. It is a separation of the wheat and the weeds. It really is. And you've experienced it, Rick. These people, these Jehovah's Witnesses are so hateful. They're so hateful. They'll stay in just to prove you're wrong. And then, also, anybody who's ever seen the Charlton Heston movie when he does the horse race, that famous movie. Remember when he's running around in the horses in Rome? Ben-Hur. And then at the very end, when his childhood friend tells he tells him, you know, that they were enemies, right? And Ben-Hur says, "No, you're not my enemy. I don't see no enemy here." But he told him, he goes, "The fight continues." Those were his last words. See, Anthony Morris and the governing body are going to look at you in their deathbed and they're going to say, "Rick Farron, the fight continues." They're going to fight you to the day they die. There's a lot of these Jehovah's Witnesses are going to stay there. And guess who knows it? Watchtower knows it. They understand this. They understand religion, worldview. They understand it like royalty understands it. Royalty understands it. And that's why people like us are serfs. This is why we're slaves. This is why we get paid per hour. This is why they never work and we work. We pay taxes and it goes to them. So these people are on a different level, an evil level of understanding. And they know that until Jesus comes, they're always going to be dominating us. And we have to just walk away from them, in my opinion. We pray for them, like Jesus says, we pray for our enemies. But the sad reality is these people aren't going anywhere. The great majority of Jehovah's Witnesses, they may jump to another church. They'll still be in a cult. But they are of the Gideon type. They have their head in the sand, and ignorance is bliss. I'm telling you. You know, anybody who has a good girlfriend knows, man. Ignorance is bliss. Until the cops come knocking.
Well, let me ask you now, Gilbert. Now, do you have a girlfriend, Gilbert? Do you have a good?
No.
I'm just asking.
Only the head, no.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, listen, that's a good narrative. I enjoy what you have to say. You're always a good contributor here at the Six Screens. You and Jesse,
That make you look good.
Oh, you make me look good. You do. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Gilbert. Thank you.
Okay.
Always appreciate it. All right. Well, anyways, you're on Six Screens, JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. But, you know, I have to tell you, reminders and announcements. Well, we bring that up a lot. I get information comes in from a man by the name of Atlantis. It's a fictitious name, but he sends me these announcements and reminders So I do have announcements and reminders from Atlantis. He's an insider at the Watchtower. And anyways, for 2024 April, and, they talk about the Elders book, but there's not much changes there. They made a few changes, but nothing to really bring up here tonight. But one of the things that was brought up that seems to be significant is the idea that Bible studies are dropping off like a rock. What's going on with Bible studies? Nobody wants to study with the Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. Do you blame them? Yeah, they're drowning in the fact that people aren't wanting to study the Bible with them. And that this is really a problem. And this is what was made known in the April reminders and announcements. So I had to bring that up. And why is it? Why don't people want to study with the Jehovah's Witnesses anymore? Well, I think the internet's a great equalizer. Do you want to study with someone that's in a cult? Do you want to study with someone that's an aberrant group? Well, that's what the witnesses are. And no one wants to study. So the studies are way, way down. 480, what do you want to say, 480? Go ahead.
I don't want to say anything yet. I'm still trying to pull my thoughts together. I'm thinking about some of the last calls.
All right. Well, just hold on there, Wyatt Earp, and we'll mute you in the meantime. So anyways, yeah, so we have Bible studies way, way down. People don't want to study. So we have the congregation making an announcement to really up the ante here, to get more and more of the witnesses wanting to study, really go out, make an all-out concerted effort to get people to study the Bible, because people just don't want to do it, and I don't blame them. But that's basically the gist of it all. I mean, that is the lifeline of the Jehovah's Witness recruitment plan, right? I mean, part of the recruitment is, you call on a person, you place magazines, you leave them some information, you make a return visit, then you study the Bible. Well, the people aren't wanting to do that anymore. So that's a good news. I think that's good news. We should rejoice over that. So that is really, and maybe it also is because, a few months back when they said you don't have to report time anymore. In fact, even in that announcement, they were saying that, what they do now, you don't have to record. Remember the time slips we had before? You had to put down, well, I spent 10 hours in the service, had a return visit, had a Bible study, all of that. They don't have those slips anymore. All they give the witnesses now is a little piece of paper that, and the question is asked, have you participated in the ministry? They're not looking for time, but have you participated in the cart work? You can check that. Have you participated in the door-to-door work? Check that. But no time being reported. But what's happening here, I think, is because of the dropping of the time and having to report it, that a lot of witnesses said, hey, forget about it. I don't even have to get time to get a Bible study in. And how many times did people, I did this as a witness. I thought a Bible study was good because you could get time in without knocking on doors all over the neighborhood. So I got a lot of time in it because at one time I had 5 Bible studies. So that adds up over the course of a month. You get a lot of time in, right? So now that they dropped the reporting of time, a lot of the witnesses said, well, I'll drop the Bible study. I was only doing to get time in anyways. They really weren't doing it to help the person to come to an accurate knowledge of the truth. They were only doing it to get their time in. So now the Watchtower's backfiring on them. Now it seems like, oh my goodness, we don't have the Bible studies. Please get out there and get Bible studies again. Unbelievable. 614, what do you think, 614?
Hey, Rick, this is Michael. How you doing?
I'm good, Michael, good.
Good. Hey, what I think about this, I don't know if the Jehovah's Witnesses want people studying the Bible with other Christians, because now there's many training classes now. A witness comes in and studies. I don't think a witness would want to study with me for every 2 Bible studies, to tell you the truth. I'll take any witness on. Just bring them over to my house, please. If any witness listens, give them my number. I'll have a Bible study with them.
Well, a real Christian would want to do that. Now, you're not going to count your time as a real Christian either, are you, Michael?
No, You know what? Let me tell you a story. I was talking to my elder friend that, that I tell you about all the time. I've known him for 55 years. He's still an elder. And he was telling me about all the changes that they did in the congregation. I said, you know something, Mark? In 1973, I was 21 years old, and I went to Fred France himself personally and told him that his dates were wrong about 1975. When I went to the Kingdom Home, went out in service, I never even turned in time because I didn't believe in that. I did it out of the goodness of my heart and for my God, Jehovah. So I never turned in time to begin with. I worked outside all the time. My face got burned. I grew a beard back there. The brothers would come and tell me, you can't be on the Kingdom Hall, the ministry school, and give talks or move up in the organization if you have the beard. And I still wore the beard. But you know what? They called me to build all their Kingdom Halls. I built a bunch of Kingdom Halls for them. I got that call. And I said, you know something, Mark? I did that over 50 years ago. And all the changes they made now, you're allowed to have beards. You're not counting time. And hell, you should have put me on the governing body 50 years ago. I would have straightened you all out.
Well, I agree with you. No, see that, but they made that mistake. They should have brought you in, Michael. They should have brought you in.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got me a little excited. I hear all these comments. I get a little excited, Rick. I'll tell you got the exciting side of me tonight.
Well, I'm always good. I've always had the exciting side of you. Thank you very much, Michael, for coming in here tonight. Thank you. It's great.
Okay, bye.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, we now have the convention. We have the 2024 convention of Jehovah's Witnesses that is coming up this summer. And we now have a theme for the convention. And the theme for the convention for the Jehovah's Witness convention this summer, Declare the Good News Convention. Oh, my goodness. How exciting. I mean, there's nothing exciting about it. But what an original theme. Declare the good news. I mean, could they come up with something better than that? I think this is groundbreaking. I really do. I think that this convention, Declare the Good News theme, has a lot of legs we could put on it. I think they did it on purpose. I got a feeling why they came up with Declare the Good News convention. It is because nobody's going out and declaring the good news. So what I feel is the organization is trying to get more and more people out in service, even though they've said, well, you're not going to get time for it any longer. So a lot of people have been dragging their feet and not going out. So that's what I feel. So the convention theme right now, I believe, has to do with them getting rid of the time reporting. Declare the Good News convention. That kind of resonates with people. It's telling them get out there and declare the good news. Hold on one second, Wyatt. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on one second. We'll get right to you here. Hold on. So, that motto or theme was planned. And in my way of thinking, that motto was planned because of the elimination of the hour reporting to get more people out in service. So I really believe that's what took place here. It's kind of ironic. I was thinking some other themes in view of the recent changes in the Watchtower. I was thinking, here's a theme that would be good. Honor Jehovah. Honor Jehovah with Pants and Beards Convention. That would probably be a more acceptable theme, right? Yeah. So I was just thinking that, it's all in view of people not wanting to go out in service, not wanting to preach the good news, because they're not getting time in. So declare the Good News Convention. That's the theme for the Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses this summer. Okay, Wyatt Earp, what do you have to say?
I agree with that last call about not reporting time. I only reported an hour every month, no matter how much I went out, because I always told them I'm a witness 24 hours a day. And I never understood that reporting time. And this is the other thing I wanted to talk about too, is these sisters that are everyone's feeling bad about.
for not having children and stuff, but it's also the fathers that we don't have children either. And one of the things is I used to have problems with is they had a real touchy situation about their abortion policy. My wife, ex-wife, had a few abortions, and I didn't know, I couldn't quite figure out what to do about that. You know, is this her problem? Is it my problem? I never really got a clear answer on that, except for now, I know I don't have a few children that I probably could have had.
Well, that's sad. But you know, you just said something there that got me thinking. I like what you said. Is that my problem or is it her problem? Whose problem is it? Well, what
Yeah,
wasn't?
I'm not one to go around grabbing people out.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
if she was the one that made the decision, it was her problem.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not
Yeah,
beating her up here, but I'm just saying that would have been. But that's what you do when you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Everybody else's problem becomes your problem. You don't know how to handle it. No, I know what you're saying. I kind of got involved in stuff like that too, not with abortion, but with other things. You get kind of dragged into it, and you say, "Gee, what am I doing here? How am I supposed to agree with this or disagree?" It puts you in an awkward situation.
Yeah, we had all kinds of marital problems over this. I didn't agree with her. I wanted the children, but she didn't. So, you know,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do about it? And in the meantime, I guess I only realized the repercussions of it later on is I don't have any children.
Well, yeah, no, that's a sad thing. In fact, that was one of the things that Raymond Franz that bothered him. All of his life he gave to the Watchtower, him and his wife Cynthia. He wrote the book. Of course, he was a governing body member, but he was the author of the book Crisis of Conscience. And that's one of the things that he suggested, that all of his life he gave up having children and getting children because Armageddon was coming. In the new system, they could have children, but he died an old man and never had children. And him and his wife regretted that, Wyatt Earp. Yeah, it's terrible.
And one of the things I figured out from women that have abortions is that, you know, if they can do that to their unborn children, I'm nothing to them. They can't, I don't mean anything to them. They're going to treat me like crap, you know, because once I got out of the religion, I also ran into other women that have done that. And you mean nothing to them. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Well, no, I get what you're saying. Well,
So it's I'm kind of sort of asking a question of what is there, or what was there, or what is their policy on abortion?
well, the Watchtower policy on abortion is the same policy that the whole Christian world would have. That you wouldn't really have an abortion. It wouldn't be in the best interest of you. But there are extenuating circumstances that even the Christian world will recognize. But no, it's an oddball. It's very odd. It's a very difficult subject. But the Watchtower's position is no.
That's the answer I used to get all the time.
Yeah.
Except all I know is those women treat men like crap. You know,
Yeah, well, maybe they all don't. Maybe they all don't. But sometimes the woman would have to be the one that makes the decision. She would have to be the one that decides whether it's in her best.
Well, not if they're listening to their husband.
Well, I mean, if she's married, in the witness world, they should listen to that. I'm with you, Wyatt Earp. I'm not in any way debating it. But
In
yeah.
the meantime, so what brought this thought up in my head is when a few callers back was the about old women that don't have children to take care of them. It's also old men. We don't have children to take care of us either. And sometimes we don't have a wife either, because if they treat you like crap, they're gone too.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't in any way demeaning or lowering the older man. But, men, and Wyatt Earp, you're a tough guy. I mean, let's face it. You're tougher than an old woman, right? I mean, I'm not demeaning the old women either. But men generally, they have thicker skin. They're stronger. They can put up with some inadequacy and difficulty. But the old sisters, I mean, it's even worse for them. It is. I mean, I'm not saying that old men don't have these issues either. They do. There's a lot of old men I know in the organization that were displaced as well. But the old sisters, they're in tough shape. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, that's good.
For now.
All right. Well, thank you, Wyatt Earp. Good to hear from you tonight. So that's good. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News, and we are doing this tonight, exposing the Jehovah's Witnesses, letting people know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Did you hear what happened in Austria? Friends, an explosive device, a bomb, let's go with that, an explosive device was found at a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall. Now, I've said it here before, and I've been saying it for the last year. If you want to remain one of Jehovah's Witnesses, send me an invitation to your funeral, because that's what it's going to amount to. We had so many witnesses that have been murdered. Kingdom Halls being bombed. Kingdom Hall in Germany being shot up. Kingdom Hall is being firebombed, set on fire. I'm not trying to embellish. I'm not trying to overemphasize, but this is really a problem as of late. It's a dangerous thing today to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. There are many enemies out there that Jehovah's Witnesses have hurt, and they've created a real storm, a real firestorm. Now, I don't encourage retaliation. I don't encourage putting bombs in Kingdom Halls. I don't encourage burning a Kingdom Hall down. But because of the grievances that former Jehovah's Witnesses have over shunning policies, families being disconnected, there is a real problem of people coming back and retaliating. I never say resort to that. But here we have in Austria a package containing an explosive. It was discovered in a Jehovah's Witness meeting at Kingdom Hall. And I'll tell you what, there was around 50 people that were in the hall. And the officials who found this device, they said it could be potentially very dangerous. It could have caused unbelievable harm. Well, let's put up here a picture of the Kingdom Hall I want for you to be able to see. And this is the hall. It's in Austria. We'll put it up so you can see it. That's the Kingdom Hall right there. And that's where a bomb was planted. Now, what did the police have to say about it? So you have a Kingdom Hall with a bomb that could have blew the whole place up, killed all the 50 people that were in it. So what did the police have to say? Well, they were saying a suspicious package was discovered in the entrance of the building. And that was on Friday. That would have been yesterday. Now, when the police arrived, security was established to surround the area, make sure that nothing was going to be blown off with someone getting hurt while they were there. So specialized teams came in. They used X-ray machines and a robot to help determine the type of threat that was presented there at the Kingdom Hall. So following the investigation, it was announced that there was actually a bomb that was put in the Kingdom Hall. By who, they still don't know. But sadly, this is becoming more common within the Jehovah's Witness community. We've been talking about it here. Yes, we have. I think of events like this, and first thing that runs in my mind, this isn't some random act of someone trying to bomb a Kingdom Hall. This is what goes around and comes around when you shun people, when you displace people. Now, most people can be shunned and displaced, and it doesn't bother them, and they don't think of retaliating. But on the other hand, there are people that they do it to the wrong people. And these people don't have much to lose in life. They've lost everything. They could come back and do this. So the Watchtower really has to give some serious consideration to this shunning policy. This is creating unbelievable havoc. Yes, this is what happens when you alienate people through disfellowshipping. So I just wanted to bring that up tonight. So fortunately, nobody got hurt. And we hope that doesn't ever happen when someone does get hurt. But the message that I have here is the Watchtower's got to really think twice about their shunning policies and the problems and the difficulties that they're bringing upon witnesses. They're sitting ducks. And like I say, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to be a Jehovah's Witness today. I'd always be looking over my shoulder if I was in a meeting. You do not know what people are thinking, especially people that have been alienated from their family. It's just my thoughts. That's all it is. What are your thoughts on it? Do you have any thoughts on it? Did you hear about the bombing in Austria this week? It's not the first time we reported on this. This happens all the time. I mean, at least in the last year, I'd say we brought this up at least half a dozen, maybe a dozen times of different bombings and different problems Kingdom Halls were having. Go ahead. You're on with us, 248. What do you think about this? Go ahead.
Hello, Rick. Yes, I agree with you 100%. It's very dangerous to be a Jehovah's Witness today. I know I would be very uncomfortable going to out in field service or going to a Kingdom Hall because of what you just stated. I wish to share the last update of the Jehovah's Witness 10-year plan from JW Updates. It indicated that they will be allowed to wear tattoos and piercings. Smoking, tobacco, and marijuana will be discouraged. It will no longer be considered a disfellowshipping offense. Birthdays will be permissible under certain circumstances. And sisters will be allowed to marry non-witness men that will no longer be frowned upon. Also, chaperones will no longer be advised for courting couples. And here's something very interesting about blood. Blood transfusions will not be considered a conscientious matter. It will go back to the way it used to be, meaning no blood at all. Also, one other thing, with married couples, certain sexual acts among married couples will no longer be frowned upon either, as it is currently at this particular time. It actually has always been frowned upon. It no longer will be frowned upon in the near future.
So we're hearing this.
This is coming from JW Updates. This is the last installment or the last part of the 10-year plan. And this particular gentleman is getting his information from a PMO from Bethel. And he has given all of the plans within the 10-year plan that the Watchtower has hired a consulting firm. And they've made these plans within the 10-year plan that they have. And this is the last installment of this plan.
Well, that's fascinating. You know, we're hearing about this 10-year plan. What are some of the other things they said?
Well, as I mentioned before, they're going to be allowing, like I said before, with your married couple, they've always been frowned upon certain sexual intimacy between married couples. Well, that will no longer be the case. As long as you don't go around talking about it, it's not going to be something that's going to be offensive, shall we say.
And unmarried people can do the same thing as long as it's not vaginal sex.
Yes, that's correct. The thing is, what I find the thing that I find most interesting is sisters will now be allowed to marry non-witness men. Now, I don't know how well that would work. Of course, it depends, because they could meet someone and wish to be a witness, but that's going to be a problem, because if he's a non-witness man, He's want to celebrate Christmas. He's used to celebrating birthdays. He's used to celebrating Thanksgiving. So I don't know how well that will work for a sister, a believing sister marrying a non-witness man. But they said that it will no longer be frowned upon. They'll be open to marry non-witness men within this plan, 10-year plan.
Oh,
We're talking about 2034.
Well, that makes sense.
I think they'll frown on it. They just won't disfellowship you. I think they're still going to probably say, "Oh, it's not right," but
well, according to this, they no longer be frowned upon. Now, like I said, they haven't done this yet, but within 10 years, between now and 2034, they will be allowed to marry non-witness men and will no longer be frowned upon.
Yeah, his article even said they could have sex outside the marriage as long as it wasn't vaginal sex and as long as the spouse approved of it, gave permission.
Yes, I've seen that too. I didn't want to get too much into that because it's sexual content, but that's correct.
Hey, but that's what sells.
Well, it's a situation where I think that all these changes, the beards and all this, the women wearing pants, all these things are connected to them trying to be more mainstream. And this consulting firm that they've hired are giving them this advice, and they're adopting it. And as Rick stated in his program, they're losing a lot of people, especially young people. So this is to try to keep people in and try to attract people to come into the organization so they can be mainstream. Because, I'm around the same age as Rick. And in the 1960s, there's no way they would have allowed tobacco smoking or marijuana smoking. And it will, they say they're not going to discourage it, but it would definitely be a disfellowshipping offense. Well, according to this, it no longer will be disfellowshipping offense. Tattoos, piercings, that will up, even birthdays. Birthdays will be permissible under certain circumstances. But these are major, major changes. I had my sister call me to invite me to the memorial. And I asked her I said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Does Jehovah God change his mind?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, then why all these changes? If Jehovah God is given the governing body instructions to tell you guys what to do, then why all these changes?" So either Jehovah God has changed his mind, or this organization of men, and they're changing their mind. So she didn't reply, but I gave her something to think about.
Well, no doubt. I mean, that would be something for them to think about. Really, there's so many questions you could ask a witness, but do you think they'd really stop and think? That's the problem.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Rick, about that. My 95-year-old mom passed away on New Year's Eve last year. She got baptized in 1951. My sister is 76 years old. She has health problems. And what I believe is that they need for it to be true. They've got so much time invested in this organization that they need for it to be true. They need to have hope. And people need hope. And so when you get to be that age, I'm in my early 70s as well. When you get to be that age and you have health problems and you're in that organization, you need for it to be true because you need something to cling on to. Like a drowning man hold on to a piece of wood in the ocean. You need to hold on to it. For the young ones, they still have a chance. In the 30s that you mentioned, 30s or 20s, they still have time to get out. But when you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and you have health problems, you need to cling on to this organization. And that's what I think it is. They need for this to be true. They may have doubts. They're never going to tell you they have doubts. But if they do have doubts, they need to block it and believe in this because they need something to cling on to. They need for it to be true. And that's the case with a lot of these witnesses in their 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Well, good narrative. Good man. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and always glad you call into the program. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All righty. Well, there you go. We've got a lot still to talk about here tonight, but we got another program coming up in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And we've got Dick and Constance Borgie, the DC program. That's what they call it. So they'll be coming on with us very, very shortly if all goes well. So we're looking forward to that program tonight. But I want to bring up something here that I want to discuss before we do leave the news. The Watchtower Broadcasting on the JW Broadcasting, jw.org website, it got my attention. It really, really did. It got my attention this week, and I had to share it with you tonight. I'm going to play a clip so you'll be able to hear it and see it. But, this David Splain, he's deceptive, very, very deceptive. And they're very concerned what took place in Norway. Even though they don't mention on JW Broadcasting this month for April, they kind of imply, they don't say Norway, but they're implying that, the world is coming down against them and trying to stop their movement forward. And of course, they're referring to Norway. I can tell they are. So it's somewhat concerning to me. Because they really are trying to, suggest to the world that countries are picking on them. That the country of Norway is not really picking on the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not picking on them for preaching. It's not picking on them for their belief. It's not picking on them for their overall religious practices. It's picking on them because they shun people. And in order to get money from the government, as they do in Norway, they shouldn't shun. That is not what a reliable, genuine organization, a loving organization would do. Countries don't need organizations that shun and disconnect people because they don't want to believe in their policies. So we now have this clip. I'm going to play it to you. Now, this is a threat. You listen to this. It's about a 2-minute clip. You listen to this clip, and I think you'll find it very fascinating. David Splain goes on in this. Let's get it shared right here now. Let me share it, and let's play it. It's about a 2-minute clip. I want you to hear it. Let me just get it programmed in to where we start, and that way there you'll be able to. All right, so we got to go 17:30 in. All right, so right about, let's start right about here. Okay, just a matter of getting it right. Okay, we're starting. Okay, so listen to David Splain, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. It's about a 2-minute clip, but he's threatening. I'll tell you what, I'd be very careful what the Watchtower is doing here. You don't go threaten governments. Now, you listen carefully. This is what he's doing, and I know he's doing it in reference to Norway. Listen in. Let's play the clip.
Third step outlined by
Hold on 1 second. Gotta just want to make sure we get this up. Why that's okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get my my clip playing here. Let me put my microphone on so you can hear it really, really good. Just give us a second for that. All right, so you can hear it really good. So let's play the clip with David Splain right now. Listen to him. He's actually threatening the governments. Listen to him.
Jesus, and he'll be removed from the congregation.
Come on.
How else can we work along with Jehovah's
All right. Why isn't that playing?
purpose?
Okay. Well, I'm not getting it playing.
We
Just
can do that
hold on
by
with me
being
for a
involved in
second.
the
For some
preaching
reason, we're not
Word
getting
has
him
gone out.
playing here.
This good
I'll
news of the
check it
kingdom
just
must be
to make
preached
sure
in all the
on here
inhabited earth.
with this. Okay, the
Many
sound
have
is
tried to
up.
prevent that from
We
happening.
do have the sound is okay. It's
In
not.
the early 20th century,
Why is that
a
not
few
playing?
prominent brothers opposed the
All right.
organization's efforts to get everyone involved in the preaching work.
Well, anyways,
Those
just give me a
dignitaries
second
were
with
quite
this and
happy
see
to
if we
get
can't
all
get it up.
dressed
I hate to do
and
this
give
to you
public
folks. I know you want
talks
to
to
hear it.
large audiences.
Any other time we could hear it. That is weird. Why is that not playing? Well, let's take this out. Maybe I'll put the microphone close, and we can do it without it.
But they refused to lower themselves to go from house to house. They were fighting against God, and the angels soon sifted them out. Most of them were never heard of again. Even in countries where there's a measure of religious freedom, fighters against God have tried to prevent us from carrying out our commission. You need a permit to go from house to house. You can't offer magazines on the street. You people are a dangerous sect. They've even enacted laws directed at stopping our work. Unless they change their ways, those lawmakers are going to be in big trouble. The word has gone out. As you go, preach. That great work will be accomplished with their support or in spite of them. Well, as we mentioned, fighters against God sometimes seem to get away with their acts of rebellion, but they're on a slippery slope. I can't express it better than David did in Psalm 37, 1 and 2. Do not be upset because of evil men, or envious of wrongdoers. They will quickly wither like grass and shrivel like green new grass. So, when you hear about powerful opposers who seem to be untouchable, remember what we've discussed. These men may seem to prosper for a while, but since they're fighting against God, they're more to be pitied than to be feared. They're on the wrong side. They are fighting a losing battle.
Thank you, Brother Splay.
All right, I just want to stop right there. Let me stop right there. Stop this. Let me just get rid of that. But I wanted to, I'm sorry that we couldn't probably get the sound up as loud as I wanted it. But let me just explain what was going on in this video. Anyways, this was the JW Broadcasting for April. David Splane came on, and he was saying that how countries are coming down upon the witnesses, how the governments are beginning to stop their preaching. That is a bunch of baloney. This is all in view of what happened in Norway. Norway has taken their charitable money away. So, but the witnesses don't really get that part of it. The witnesses, rank and file, they just think, oh boy, the countries are coming down upon us. But, you know, these guys are so tough. David Splane and Jeffrey Jackson and the rest of these governing body members, they're so tough on their little TV show when they're on camera. But you drag these guys into court, and all of a sudden the dynamics change. They're not that tough. What it is they laugh nervously and they deny everything and they cower in fear and they backtrack and they never tell the truth while they're in court. Well, we know that was proved with Jeffrey Jackson when he was in the Australia Royal Commission Court. He didn't tell the truth. He nervously sat back but you know, on their own little TV program, they can be really tough. Oh, the nations are coming against us. And then he even made comments like a threat that Jehovah will come against these governments. Jehovah will be with us. He will conquer these governments. Is that what they want to hear? I mean, Splane brags about the fact that, you know, they can get away because Jehovah's on their side. And because they're not obeying the laws of Jehovah, they will have some retribution brought upon them. This is a threat. This is an actual threat against the governments of the land. And this is all, this clip, believe me when I tell you, has nothing more, or this broadcast has nothing more to do with, they're stopping our preaching worldwide. It has to do with them losing money in Norway. They are having difficult problems. This is a threat. And I hope, in fact, I'd like to send this clip to the Norwegian government. I might even find out how I can do that so they could hear what he has to say, because the Norway government would look at this and say, yep, I see what they're doing. They're now threatening us. So it's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I don't know how you guys would view it. But, you know, Watchtower really has been concerned about this Norway taking their money away. It has hurt them deeply. It has. And they're worried that this idea of countries, especially in Europe, taking their charitable status away, this could cascade into many other countries throughout Europe. That they're friends. I did some numbers on this, that they could lose $100 million plus if other countries decide, no, we're not going to give you the charitable money. So we're seeing a quick shift on disfellowshipping and all the new guidelines on handling underage wrongdoing, which is the key point in the Norway case. The reason why Norway came into the attention of the Watchtower is because they were shunning and deliberately disconnecting young children that should have been being taken care of by their parents. But many parents kicked these kids out of the house. So Norway got very concerned about that. So that's what this is all about. I can see it a mile away. And I hope that other Norwegian companies, Finland, Sweden, and all of Europe, I hope that they can really do the same thing Norway did here. If you're going to continue to shun people, you're going to lose the money. So Norway, this is great news. It's great news, right? For all of us listening in, because we know they're changing. That's the reason why they're changing their stance on shunning. That's the reason why they're changing their stance on dress. They don't want to seem to be so controlling. They've been dancing around the fact that, in fact, even Splain in that video, I don't know if you caught it or not, but he says the nations are referring to us as a sect. No, the nations aren't referring to the Watchtower as a sect. They're referring to the Watchtower as a cult. So they danced around that as well. He gets on here, and they're very tough, like I say, on their little TV program. They can spit out whatever they want. But I dare David Splain to say what he said in that video to Putin's face. The president of Russia. What's in Russia? They banned the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I would dare Splain, governing body member, to tell Putin that, Jehovah is going to do away with you. Jehovah is going to annihilate you. Try that in Putin's face. See how he gets along with it. Well, I wanted to bring that up, folks. I thought that was kind of interesting, that JW broadcasting this week. Everything is going fine. We're moving in the right direction here at the 6 screens. More and more people are coming in. I want to thank everyone for coming in tonight. Now, we do have 6 Screens Sunday tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. It takes on, on Saturday night, we don't talk about spirituality. We don't do scriptures. But, there's a lot of people that have left the Watchtower for theological reasons. And they want to find out the real false teachings behind the Watchtower organization. Well, tomorrow we do our Sunday programming. And I don't know if you ever heard of this book, but it's called The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse. Well, I've read the book, and we have a man coming on tomorrow, Scott Walton, and his sidekick, Jody Bishop, at 1 o'clock tomorrow on the Knowing God program here on the 6 Screens Network. And they're going to be talking about the subtle power of spiritual abuse. And we know that takes place in the Watchtower. So that's going to be a great program tomorrow. So join us tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock for our Christian programming, The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse. That's at 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, we have ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. They call in and they tell their stories on how they've been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. And then at 3 o'clock, we do JW World News Sunday edition. And then at 4 o'clock, we have the Christian Court. In Christianity, there's a lot of peculiar questions that people would love to get answered, but they really don't know what the answer is. Well, we have 2 Bible scholars that'll be on tomorrow and discuss some of these questions on the Christian Court. That comes on at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Don't miss that program. That program is one of the up-and-coming good programs here on the 6 Screens. It's making a real dent in getting people to listen in. And also at 5 o'clock, we have Jay Hess. He was associated at one time with the writing department of the Watchtower. And he has a program, and you can ask him Bible questions. He's very astute. He's very sharp. So if you have a Bible question for Jay beginning at 5 o'clock tomorrow night on Eastern Standard Time, by all means, come into the 6 Screens. You'll find it very, very fascinating. All right, so let's talk about the duck. It looks like nobody said we had 2 phrases tonight. We had 2 phrases, and we have this sealed envelope right here. I want to give away some books. but we had two phrases tonight that we did bring. Nobody brought it up, and I'm going to give you some clues. I'm going to see if someone can at least win a book here tonight, or win two books. We had two phrases. If someone said it when they called in tonight, the duck would have come down and given them one of our beautiful books here. So I'm going to give you a clue to the two phrases, and we'll see if you guys can get it. In the Jehovah's Witness world, they have a lot of phrases. They have a lot of little terms they use, little euphemisms, colloquialisms, whatever you want to call them. But we're going to give you a clue and see if you can't win a book here tonight. This is a phrase, and it has to do with a kitchen appliance. Who would like to guess what that would be? Can you give us a phrase the witnesses use that has to do with a kitchen appliance? Any thoughts on that? All right. You had little sayings that the Watchtower would always say, do this, do that. And, well, I'm not going to tell you what the saying is, but it has to do with a kitchen appliance. Anyone want to take a shot at it? All right. Pressure cooker, no. The writing in, no. All right. I'll up the ante here a little bit. I want to give a book away, maybe two books. All right. So let's move it up. I'll give you a better clue. So that kitchen appliance would be a stove. So what would be one of the sayings that Watchtower used, and one of the phrases that they would use in the Watchtower concerning a stove? Anyone?
Cooking out of aluminum.
What's that?
Cooking out of aluminum.
That's a good thought. Cooking out of aluminum? No, it's a good thought. But it has to do with.
On the back burner.
Who said that? Who said put it on the back burner? Was that you, Boogie?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, for crying out loud, why don't you give other people a chance to win the pro? To win the.
I wrote to the end. I think it's an inside job.
You're too good with these Watchtower phrases. Yeah, it's because people. I'm sure the elders would always tell you that. Dick, put it on the back burner. Put it on the back burner. All right. Let's go with another one. We had another one here tonight. All right, Dick, you got your books coming. By the way, there's been a little hold up here. I was waiting for some more books that he sent me, so I got them. Yeah, I know. Well, what I had there was a special book I wanted to give you, but he wrote me and he said they're on the way. So just you'll get them. So I'm gonna throw some more in. Jeez. All right, so let's go with this. No, Boogie, give people a chance, okay? Give other people a chance. All right. So let's go with this. This is another phrase. That Jehovah's Witnesses would use. You've heard it numerous times. I'll give you a little clue and see if you can win a book. Let me just see what they're saying here on. No, nobody got it here on YouTube. I'm looking at YouTube chat. I can't look at Facebook chat, folks, so forgive me. I can only look at so many things. Okay. So nobody got it on YouTube. I guess Dick is still the winner of that. But okay, so here's another phrase. You can call it a colloquialism, an axiom. There's a lot of terms you can use, but these little sayings or phrases that the Watchtower would use. So let's go with this one. This has to do with a body part. Anyone have any ideas on that one? This has to do with a body part. I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They used to say something about deaden, like to make them deaden my body.
Well, no, possibly that's a good guess, but that's not it. This has to do. In fact, once you hear what it is, you'll say, "Oh, I should have got it." So this is little phrases the witnesses use. This has to do with a body part. I'll give you. It's an extremity. It's an extremity. Extremity body.
The hand of God.
The hand of God. Well, no, it's not the hand of God, but you're on the right. What's that?
Let Jehovah handle it. Oh, it's in Jehovah's hand.
You got it. You got it, Apostle. Leave it. You got it. So Well, there you go. All right, so we'll get you the. I think I have your address, but could you just mail it to me just to make sure? Okay, just mail it, email it to me. All right, and I'm gonna send you a book here. I got some beautiful books. In fact, he goes by the name Nathan Natus. He's on JWN discussion board. I don't want to give his real name. Maybe he'll let me say it, but he's been so generous to give us these books. He says, Rick, give them out to the people when that duck comes down. So you got it, Apostate Babe. Thank you. All right. Leave it.
I've read that book, The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse.
That's
an excellent book.
Oh, yeah, that's a good book.
Very good.
Yeah. So the two phrases tonight, put it on the back burner and leave it in Jehovah's hands. How many times have we heard that? You got it, Apostate Babe. Thank you. All right. So
I think I almost got it. Put in God.
well, you gave a good clue. See, you that was good thinking, Wyatt Earp. I give you.
I don't want those books anyway.
Well, maybe what I should do is give you a prize too.
What's the books you're giving out?
Well, they're books that there's many of them are older Watchtower publications, like this one right here, for example. Millions now living. Yeah, there it is, right there. Millions now living will never die. It's a great book. I mean, it's it's out of print now, but maybe I should send you something, Wyatt, or maybe I should send you some collector magnets.
You know what the book I want is Franz's book. Because when my dad died, my Jehovah's Witness brother came up and threw all that stuff away.
What are you talking about? The Crisis of Conscience book?
Yeah.
Oh, they're hard to get. They're out of print. They're out of print. I wish I had some. I wish I had some.
My brother came and threw that away.
Yeah.
By the way, you can listen to it on Spotify. You don't. Oh yeah, I've done that. But I like reading the books sometimes at the same time and better. Yeah, I have. I've been through the book before. I have both of them in PDF. I can send them to Rick to send to you. PDF. Are you? PDF. That's that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have your email, Wyatt Earp. I don't have your email, so send me your email. Say, this is Wyatt Earp. Send it to jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll get the PDF, and I'll send it to you. And Linda, would you mind if I send it to anybody else?
Anybody else? Yeah.
All right, good. So if if you want the book and don't have it, just write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. I'll get you the book out. Well, thank you, Wyatt Earp.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jerry JP.
Yes, JP.
Yeah, I tried to answer the question, but I just want to give an extra piece of Watchtower trivia. You were talking about, I may have came a little late to answer the question on the app that I have to call into the show, but you were asking about something on a stove in the back. It was a back burner. But when you were saying something about a stove, I was thinking the reason why I gave the answer aluminum was because I think at some time in the golden age or something that they were talking against like using either aluminum or copper cookware or something. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one time they
prohibited using like aluminum, I think, cookware or like tin foil to cook with or something. So that's why I said aluminum, but I just wanted to say that's an odd answer that I gave. So that's where my mind was going. But
I won't hold you. I won't hold you hostage over that one.
Got me, Rick.
No, but I thought it was a good guess because the pan at the stove and what have you. But no, you're right. They didn't like people using aluminum. Thank you, JP. You're a good man. Don't you ever change. We love you, buddy. Thank you. All right. So there you go. So there you go. I mean, we're having fun with that, right? Well, anyways, we're going to end the program here.
Actually, he's supposed to hold their hand because he doesn't do computer anything.
All right. So let's do this. We're going to end that. And we've got Dick and Connie's program coming on next, D and C. Stay with us. We got 6 Screen Sunday tomorrow. And I want to tell all of the people listening in tonight, I want you to, keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, give up, or give out. waving that flag of victory. Don't ever let your visions die. And the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to Dick and Connie coming up next right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Stay with us.